Hello, hello. I am so glad that you are here, Colleen, and that everybody else is joining us because I will say today we're going to talk about um, superhero secrets to tapping into that resilience in us. Resilience is the thing that can make your ride a whole lot easier. So I'm really excited to have Colleen here. There is an entire episode of Finding Your Spark Again After a Loss podcast that we talk all about this exact thing and WandaVision and everything. But welcome, Colleen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am just so pleased that this episode is out and available and ready for everyone and that you get to share me with your audience and it was just so much fun. It's so much fun to have talked with you, to have discussed the show with you and I hope that everybody is going to come and laugh along when they listen to us as well. So
Yes, it is true. We had a really, really good time. We had an unreasonably good time. So if you're ready for a super good time where people are laughing for no reason and you want to laugh along, this is the episode for you. But also, I feel like even this idea of doing this podcast where we're talking about WandaVision, we're talking about superheroes, and we're talking about looking at our entertainment in ways that help us to grow spiritually. For me, that is like a really big deal because I think we're surrounded by the world, and a lot of times, hey there, Dr. V, good to see you. Have a good time on your live stream. And so I think a lot of times, we look at the world around us and we take lessons from it, but they're not necessarily lessons that support us in our desire to feel better and our desire to have a better life and our desire to kind of create a better world for ourselves and for our kids and all the things. So it was really great to be able to look at this topic in a way where we really are looking for the jewels. And there's no one better to talk to about these things than Colleen when it comes to TV, WandaVision, the MCU. I mean, you know way more than anybody I know.
well, I love that you said yes. That I made this crazy suggestion off the wall. We had this initial interview where I basically had to audition to be a guest on your podcast. Because guys, if you're not already listening to the rest of these episodes, they're brilliant. Go listen to the whole series, subscribe. She has a new episode every week, and she's a new brilliant guest every week. And she's got a waiting list of people who are going to be on future episodes. So you are in for a real treat with this podcast of Finding Your Spark Again After a Loss with Donnalynn Riley. So, we had this interview and, I'm a certified theta healer. And it was sort of like, well, this is what I do and this is what you do. And where can we kind of come together on this topic? And I kind of did this counterintuitive thing of, yeah, I could talk about work, but it doesn't always have to be about work. So, what do you think about talking about TV? Have you seen this show? And you were like, no, I have not seen this show. Tell me about WandaVision. And then suddenly I got a little bit of a deer in headlights because I had to describe the show to you without spoiling it for you because I was like, I want her to be able to discover the joys of this show on
You
her
don't know my
own.
memory's not that good. So you could have said everything and I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll watch it. And then I'd be like, oh, this is sort of familiar. I don't know why.
Well,
That's from living in the moment. That's just right there. That's living in the moment.
that's that fishbowl thing that you said on that other live stream that we, about like, yep, just what's around the bowl and then it's all brand new. So so I don't know what I said that sparked your interest because very quickly you were like, oh yeah, let's do that. I want to do that. Despite the fact that you had not seen any of the shows, and it meant that you had to sign up for watching like 8 to 10 hours of content just to do the show with me.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. And I think this is really significant to the process of change and the process of going through loss and deciding that you're going to live through it, right? Deciding that you're going to just have to be different because I can't be the same. And for me, that was a moment where the universe, somebody said to me,
Capital
"Hey,
U,
do you
universe.
want to exactly? Do you want to reach for something that is totally outside your comfort zone, but that could be really, really fun for you?" And for me, that was really important, right? Because I've said on other live streams with you that I watched a lot of TV and a lot of movies with my husband, and now he's not here. And we had a whole shorthand for how we spoke about our lives, right? We were able to reference the same movies, the same movie lines. We had 25 years, 30 years of us knowing what the other person knew. So it was so easy, right? And now no one I know really watches much TV. They don't watch things I watch, things like that. So when I heard this and I thought, this is the kind of thing I could get into. I could really have some fun with it, right? Because there's something going on there that's emotionally juicy, that has a good storyline, that's got a lot of action to it. I love all those things, right? So then I said yes. And I said yes blindly, right? I didn't say yes because I was like, oh, yeah, I watched one of those movies once and I kind of liked it. I said yes because it got served up to me on a silver platter. And I had to say to myself, hey, are you going to grab onto something new, or are you going to just stay the way you were? So for me, that's really significant. It really changed my life in this drastic way.
Well, and I love
Thank you.
how you are modeling resilient behavior just by having done that, just by saying yes, by even just doing this podcast, whether or not you interviewed me to be interviewed, or whether or not we had come together, the fact that you're even doing this podcast and that you are taking steps forward on this journey, just being the superpowered being that you already are, is absolutely amazing to watch, and I am just so grateful that I get a front row seat.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very kind. Listen, if you're here with us right now, put something in the chat so we can say hello to you. If you're watching on replay, please definitely put hashtag replay. Let us know you're here and we're around, and we will come back around to this video over and over again. And I think that's the point that you just made is really apt for this topic of resilience, that resilience doesn't actually take a lot. You don't have to be somebody completely different, right? But you do have to, in one moment, say, I am willing. I am willing. That's it. I am willing to do something. I am willing to move forward. I am willing. I'm just open. And then things will come along, and they will guide you. And I think that's a really important part of resilience, is that you don't have to do it perfectly. You don't even have to be trying to do it. You just have to be trying not to do the opposite of it, right? And it'll come. It'll come. It'll come.
Well, and just taking one step, just taking the step that's right in front of you, like it's a little breadcrumb
Yeah.
trail, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
now you've got these best day ever
Oh
T-shirts
my gosh.
that
Oh my gosh.
came out of just
These are the
a
best.
random comment we talked
These are the
about in
best.
the show.
These are the best. So these have been a part of my life. This concept have been a part of my life in such a massive way since well before my late husband passed away. But I got to tell you, when he passed away, they were a really big deal. I tell the whole story at the very end in the coda, of course, of the episode of Colleen's, because it's sort of built in true MCU fashion, where we close and then we put some more at the end, only for the people who stick around. And
I love that. I love that the T-shirt merchandise sticker is the end credit scene.
End credits. It's the end credits. And the thing is that this is so important to me, to be able to offer this in the world. There's T-shirts of a variety of colors, although we both have white on today. There's T-shirts of a variety of colors, and organic and regular and unisex and women's, and like there's everything you could want, and mugs and some other things as well.
And you're adding more, right? Like,
And I'm adding more all the time. Yeah.
mhm, mhm.
I'm adding more all the time. And the reason that I'm doing that is because filling your world with ways to remind yourself of what you want and to remind other people of what you're reaching for helps your journey so immeasurably, right? It's much easier if you put out a signpost that says, "Hey, I'm reaching for this," you know. And is it the best day ever? Well, nobody knows until we get to it, right? But you're in this moment. You're in this moment. And that's really significant. And you're really letting yourself know and other people know that you can reach for something, that you are reaching for something. And the other thing I just want to say about this particular design is that you can kind of only see the top part that says best day ever in multicolor, but there's also a faint outline of it in this multicolored gold that says best day ever so that I can read it, right? So it's one of my favorite designs because it goes back and forth. You can remind yourself and you can remind the world. So
And it was one of my favorite designs when you first rolled them out, but I didn't realize, like, because I never looked down at my shirt to read my shirt. I didn't realize that. But I'm also the one who, when I got this shirt, I was modeling and taking pictures and uploaded them to my social media. And then afterwards I was like, oh, whoops, I forgot to flip them. They were the mirrored ones. So but everybody can still read it anyway,
yeah,
right? The
yeah,
intention is there as well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I really, and that's another one that you said yes to, right? There was another breadcrumb in the conversation that we had, and you just
yeah,
ran with it, and
yeah,
you just keep modeling that resilient behavior, these super secrets that you have that you just keep showing up in the world with. I
yeah.
love it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm lucky to have a very good, a keen eye for things that I want, and I think that's another piece of that puzzle that we talked about in the podcast is like if we hone ourselves to be looking in a direction of the thing that we want, then it's more likely we're going to get there. When I was, well, I've never told this story before. When I was learning to drive, I so my father loved to drive, and so my father taught me to drive, and I went out on the highway. It wasn't really a highway. We live in the country, and for the first time, and I'm out there, and I have been driving on the back roads, but I'm out there, and it's kind of dark, and there are lights coming at me from the other direction, and I think I'm driving perfectly. I think I'm driving perfectly, but I'm thinking about that car and I'm looking at that car, making sure I'm not going near that car. And I'm thinking about that car. And my father reaches over and turns the wheel and he says, "You got to not look at it." And that for me, that was really significant because I was certain I was going to miss it because I was focusing so much on it. But that's the opposite of how we go, the place we want to go, right? You got to look in the other direction, got to look in the direction you want to go.
Right, because
So
attention goes where your energy flows, right?
that's right.
Or the other way around. Your energy
That's
flows where
right.
the attention goes, right?
That's
So of
right. And
course,
the vehicle goes where you put your attention as well, right? And so we're the vehicle, right?
yep,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that story. Yeah, and your dad sounds like he was really calm in that
He was
moment.
very calm. He was very calm. You could not rattle him too easily. And
Even
he was
like, "Hey, we're barreling towards another moving vehicle for a head-on collision. I'll just I'll just steer the
he said
wheel."
it a few times. He said, "You gotta turn the wheel." And I was like, "I'm doing it. I'm doing it." And he was like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna let that happen. Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my
Really
gosh.
good modeling. Really good modeling.
Yes, yes, extremely. I mean, that is a skill to be that buoy in the storm that just does not let anything rattle you. Like that's amazing.
He was one of the people that had such a strong. Um, he's passed away many years ago now, but he had such a strong sense of himself and of knowing that everything was really working out for him, and that even when things looked like they weren't right, even when we were veering off into the oncoming traffic in life, right? It didn't rattle him. He was like, well, it'll work itself out. We'll figure it out. We'll find a way, right? And I think that's another piece of resilience, right? It's just knowing that there will be another moment and another moment and another moment. And even when we mess everything up and we are going in a direction that we hate and the world is happening around us, and maybe we've had loss of a loved one, or maybe we've had the loss of a job, or maybe we're just having a really bad day, to know that there'll be another moment and another moment and another moment that lead us in a direction that if we choose, if we reach over and turn the wheel, right, then we go in that direction. We go in that direction, right? Yeah.
And how important it is to have other people around you who are able to model that behavior, who are able to be that example of resilience for you, because you can allow yourself to be influenced by that. It's so much easier for you to resonate when you're already in their company.
Mm,
And that is something that, because it was your father, you were he was in your field, you were in his field the whole time you were growing up. So it was really, really simple.
yeah.
And I think a lot of times when we suffer a loss, particularly somebody who is a loved one, or there's a severing of that community, of that purpose, if we're losing a job or we're moving from one location to another, we have to take that step to go find those other people to
Mhm.
connect with, so that we get that resonance. And that's where the work that you do, Donnalynn, is so transformative, because you can be that person while they're in transition, while they're wanting to transform.
Mhm.
And you're that life raft that people can reach out to, be like, hey, I just need to take this first step.
Yeah, that first step is maybe the most important, right? Because it's the step of willingness, right? And then, when you get to a point where you're really going to do the mind shifting, right? Then we get into practices like theta healing and things that you do, where we can really take this really, really far. But you gotta be willing to be resilient, gotta be willing to walk out of grief, of whatever it is that's life causes grief. It just does. That's the way it is. And if you want to subscribe to, the practical wisdom of like, oh, there's all the stages and I have to go through them and they're going to take this much time and I'm going to just wait. No, wait, we got anniversary reactions coming up. If you want to subscribe to that cycle, then it's going to be much harder for you to reach and achieve this kind of change, real change in your life. And once you've got yourself going in the right direction, then things like theta healing can be a really big deal. Things like working with me can be a really big deal, because you can learn the practices to go there all the time. So, yes. So the entire podcast is on Donnalynn.tube. Collean is the best co-host anybody could ever have. She just is. She's really good at pushing the buttons. It would have taken me 5 minutes.
I'll push your buttons. If you want me to push I'll push buttons. If you need me to trigger you, I'm great with that. And then I can help you get over it really, really fast. So yeah, I'm really good at pushing buttons. So thank you for the compliment.
Donnalynn.tube has all of the episodes on video. FindingYourSparkAgain.com, which you've already had up, has all of the episodes in audio. And of course, you can find it on any of the podcasting sites. So iTunes, Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Chaser, Deezer, whatever you want, man. We got it.
It is. It's everywhere. If you do
Everywhere.
an internet search for Finding Your Spark Again podcast, the whole first page is filled with Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Amazon Music and Transistor and whatever sort of podcast list.fm. It's all there. You can't not find it. It's everywhere.
Thank you.
It's ubiquitous.
Now, listen, before we get too far off in the weeds here with all of my fun things that I'm doing, I want you to tell my listeners a little bit about theta healing and how it relates to this issue of grief.
Thank you. Yes. So theta healing is in essence a meditation technique. But when I say that, everybody thinks that we're all gonna sit in a dark room with our eyes closed and chant and everything's gonna be better. And you can do that. But where the real power is using that technique to be able to change your limited beliefs, to release, trauma, to we can even talk to our ancestors, and we can use it for so many different things. It's really a framework to be able to connect to the divine, or whatever you want to call that. A lot of times in theta healing, we will just simply use the word creator, but not everybody has this personal relationship with that energy of all that is, right? So if you wanted to call it the universe, if you wanted to call it Bob, like, that energy is not that picky about, just as long as you acknowledge that it's there. And then we can co-create with that and co-create change, because we are manifesting all the time. But a lot of times we're manifesting by default. And when you are in those stages of grief, that sadness, that depression, that lingering emotion, that sometimes is really delicious to kind of stew in, or that society thinks that you have to do it through a certain amount of time, or it's easy to really kind of stay there. But theta healing is a way that can allow you to transition up, to raise your vibration. And I love it because you can do it very quickly. You can really, because sometimes people will try to change beliefs or change behaviors, or with things like affirmations, or other modalities that will help you shift. And I think all of us have tried those and used those at one point in time. I've really landed on theta healing because it's so quick. And the more that I study and the more that I teach, the quicker I get. Like, things really do happen in an instant. Instant healings are possible, and I've witnessed them, and it's miraculous. Miracles happen every day. So I feel like I'm just sort of about everything. Sorry,
No,
when I
I
start
love
talking about
that,
theta healing.
because what you're talking about with the miracles really reminds me of the superhero aspect of it, is that we kind of watch these movies, which I'm just so grateful to get to watch again and to get introduced to again by you. And then we watch them and we go like, oh, that's for them. Oh yeah, I don't have that superpower. Oh, that's pretend. That's in the movies. But in reality, we have so much more control than we understand. And when you do a practice like theta healing, when you really get into something and say, hey, I'm going to lean in, and it's something that really allows you to tap in that way, right? Because theta brainwaves are so integral to our ability to influence our experience of our reality, that so I think is exactly what we're talking about with the superheroes, right?
Oh, absolutely. Wanda and chaos magic, she's manipulating reality. And the funny thing is, the more superhero movies that I watch, the more that, at the same time that my psychic senses, particularly that clairvoyance, is opening up, the more cinematic those visualizations become when I am witnessing the changes for people. Like, there are sometimes it looks like a Michael Bay movie in my head when I'm witnessing a change for somebody, and they're just like, like striking the match and just walking in slow-mo, and the big explosions behind them. And so, I mean, it's so fun how just entertainment, not only we can learn from, but it can just make us, that much, our world and our experience that much richer, right? Because even whenever you're connecting to doing any sort of spiritual practice, you are only going to be open to understanding that which you are ready to receive. And so my being a fan of these movies and being able to share these with you as well now, Donnalynn, opens up that's the language that my brain, that my being is able to receive and understand and really enjoy. And so then the healings just get to be really, really fun when I am, just describing to, and sometimes when you're working with somebody who's also in that theta brainwave, they're experiencing the same thing too. And so we're just describing the same screenplay to one another as the healing is going on. It's so fun. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great
And that's when
experience.
there's really something to it, right? And when you're both seeing the same thing, having the same experience, but it's not in physical space, but it is at the same time.
Nice. That's really great. So you guys have got to check out Colleen's website, And you have your social? Do you have
I
your
do have my social,
Sorry.
since some of you are watching this on Facebook. We are multi-streaming. And of course, if you watch the podcast on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be a link to my YouTube there
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
So
when we're done, I'll put all the links so that we can make sure that people can really get to you, because I think that this work is really important. It's one of the reasons that I started the podcast, and I do that pre-interview, which is true. I do. I talk to people because I want to know that there's an overlap. I want to know what is their special something that they want to bring into the world, and in what way is it going to benefit the people who get to listen to it. And so I love that part of the interview process, actually, because it's kind of the get to know you phase. So that really gives me the ability to stand up and say, hey, you guys, I've done this work for a long time. I know how to do this work. But all of these other people know how to do the work, can also help you go through the work, and can really make a significant change for so many people. That, to me, that's the reason to do all of this, is really to help people get from A to Z. So
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes, there's many, many ways up the mountain, I like to say, but there's not even ever just one mountain, right?
There you go.
You get to the top and you get to enjoy the view. So yes, yeah, and explore all the things, right? Because sometimes things you change, and then what was working for you before isn't working for you the way, and that it leads you to something else, and the next thing. You just keep saying yes to that very next step, and you follow the breadcrumbs, and then before you know it, you'll be enjoying life again, like you always knew you could.
Yes, the perfect way to end. So we have to run because we have another place to go. And which is kind of how we should be looking at our lives. Like, okay, this was fun. Let's find some more. Um, please, you guys, do comment on the live stream, if in replay, if you see it, when you see it, participate, right? Because like, this is such a juicy world. We really get to be involved with one another, and in this world, we don't have to send mail, right? We get to do it in this really instantaneous, fun kind of way. So listen to the podcast, let us know what you think. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody.